Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a fascinating, kind of hidden financial threshold. We're talking about a very specific line in the sand that, once crossed, completely rewrites the mathematical and psychological rules of money. Yep, we're looking at the incredible paradigm shift of having $1 million actually invested in the market.
You know, have you ever actually stopped to wonder what happens to your life, your work, and, well, your whole mindset when your investments finally cross that elusive seven-figure mark? Because honestly, it's not just about adding another zero to your net worth. We aren't talking about paper wealth tied up in your house. When you have this much productive capital actively working for you, the entire game flips upside down.
So in this explainer, we're going to quickly walk through 5 critical shifts: the $1 million threshold, savers versus capital owners, the paradox of risk, the optionality mindset, and finally, unlocking the master key. Let's get right into it.
All right, starting with shift number 1, the $1 million threshold, which is really where capital finally beats labor.
Let's just look at the raw math for a second to see why the beginning of investing feels so agonizingly slow. If you have $10,000 invested at a pretty standard 7% return, you're making about $700 a year in passive income. I mean, it's cool, it pays for a few nice dinners, but it's certainly not changing anybody's life, right?
Now, if we bump that up to $50,000 invested, you're looking at $3,500 annually. And yeah, that's definitely helpful, but you are absolutely still chained to your day job for your survival. The money is helping, but it is nowhere near replacing your actual labor.
But watch how dramatically this scales up. At $1 million, that exact same 7% return generates a staggering $70,000 every single year. We're talking about a completely passive income stream working tirelessly around the clock, while you sleep, while you hike, while you're hanging out with your kids, literally without you lifting a single finger.
To really put that into perspective, the average American household spends roughly $67,000 annually. So a portfolio of this size acts like a phantom worker that can essentially cover your entire baseline existence. You literally go from working for money to money working a full-time salary job for you. Which brings us to shift number 2, savers versus capital owners.
This massive passive income totally forces a fundamental identity shift. See, savers are constantly on offense. They're in accumulation mode, obsessively stacking pennies, just trying to grow the pile. Every single dollar feels heavy. But capital owners, they shift heavily into protection mode. Once you actually have serious assets, you start playing defense. You're deploying dollars and fine-tuning your wealth to make absolutely sure you don't lose what you've so painstakingly built.
And that protective mindset leads us right into shift number 3, the paradox of risk. So playing defense introduces a totally new and honestly kind of terrifying psychological response to market volatility. Let's break down the math again. With $20,000 invested, a 10% market drop loses you $2,000. It stings for a minute, sure, but you bounce back. It's totally survivable.
However, that exact same 10% slide on a $1 million portfolio, that wipes out $100,000 in mere days. Talk about a brand new flavor of money anxiety. I mean, that outpaces most people's annual salaries. Suddenly, volatility isn't just a few red pixels on a screen. It feels like years of groceries and mortgage payments evaporating in real time.
But, and here's the true paradox, market crashes actually stop feeling like the apocalypse and start feeling like a clearance sale. Because your baseline lifestyle is already locked in by your income-producing assets, you suddenly have the financial firepower to scoop up massive bargains while everyone else is out there panicking.
To manage that intense mental pressure, a lot of millionaire investors adopt a split allocation strategy. They'll keep about 80% of their portfolio in really safe, steady holdings, just so they can sleep peacefully at night, right? And then they use the remaining 20% to chase those high upside, big swing plays. Having that much wealth fundamentally changes the size of your stomach for risk.
Moving on to shift number 4, the optionality mindset.
Once that baseline of your lifestyle is totally secured, that financial security transforms absolutely every everyday choice you make. Just knowing your basic needs are met indefinitely, it allows you to confidently pitch riskier business ideas. You can aggressively negotiate your salary, or just walk away from a toxic work environment without losing a single wink of sleep. You finally get to choose passion and growth over sheer survival. Every career move becomes an actual choice, rather than feeling like a hostage situation.
And the craziest part? While you're out there making these empowered life choices, the math in the background is going into absolute overdrive. This triggers compound acceleration. A simple 8% return is now adding $80,000 a year while you sleep. Reinvesting that means your second million is going to arrive significantly faster than the agonizingly slow 15 or 20 years it probably took to grind out your first.
Finally, we arrive at shift number 5, unlocking the master key.
Beyond just giving you peace of mind, crossing into 7 figures physically unlocks a tier of the financial system that most people don't even know exists. Suddenly, banks are treating you like a VIP. You get access to high-barrier investments, like private equity buy-ins, which, by the way, often demand $50,000 just to get in the door. You unlock real estate syndications, portfolio margin lending that lets you borrow super cheaply without ever having to sell your core assets, and even business acquisition financing. It is quite literally a master key to generating even more wealth.
Furthermore, the actual tools you use to manage your money level up completely. Strategic tax planning becomes a core wealth-building weapon. Things like high-end tax loss harvesting, asset placement, and private banking, they stop being expensive luxuries and suddenly become mathematically justifiable, essential tools to protect your massive compound gains from being eaten away.
But honestly, maybe the deepest change of all is what happens after you're gone. Ultimately, reaching this level of wealth shifts your entire time horizon. You move your daily focus away from just personal, day-to-day survival and look towards multi-generational legacy and long-term impact. You realize you've actually built something that can outlive you and keep producing value for decades. So, I'm going to leave you with this final, crucial thought. Once your portfolio acts as a tireless, unpaid worker, completely covering your baseline bills, how will you choose to value your time when you no longer have to trade it just to survive? That right there is the true, life-altering power of crossing the $1 million threshold. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this totally changes how you view your own financial journey.